Hello everyone, Eddie Smith here from Midwestern Marks. Wanted to hop on this morning and do a quick video talking about Iran. Obviously, the Trump administration, we made it through 4 years without starting another war. Woo! We did it, baby! This might be the first 4 years in U.S. history where we haven't started a war. I hope I don't sound like a Trump supporter there because he definitely wasn't good. He strangled countries with sanctions. He escalated tensions around the world. He acted as the world police, as of course the U.S. empire always does, regardless of who the president heading the empire is. Probably the worst thing Trump did as far as foreign policy, though, was allow neocons, leftovers from the Bush administration, like Elliott Abrams and John Bolton, into his administration. These war hawks who are obsessed with war. And the crown jewel of the neocon war hawks in the U.S. administration right now, the war they want more than anything, is the People's Republic of Iran. The U.S. has obviously had an extremely long history of intervention in Iran. Iran has had a long history of stifling the U.S. and keeping them out of their country and keeping Iran an independent country with its own independent form of governance. Obviously, they're not a socialist country, so Iran isn't. I would like to see the Tudeh party, it's spelled Tudeh, party take over Iran. It's or not take it over, but win power in Iran. It's the Communist Party. But right now, their economic system is what they call Islam. They say it's not capitalism, it's not socialist, it's what we do with Iran. And of course, as socialists, self-determination comes first, right? So we don't want to do socialist imperialism. We don't want to force our form of government on other countries. Every country and their people have a right to self-determination. So, of course, I think the proper position of socialists is to support Iran's right to self-determination, and then obviously support ending foreign intervention in Iran. So right now, Trump is a lame duck president, right? We're in a period, a 2-month or so period here where Joe Biden has won the election. Trump's kind of finally getting over the hoax thing. His lawsuits have failed. He's accepted that he's lost the election. So now he's a lame duck president. He doesn't have to run for re-election again. So he can basically do anything he wants, which is really scary considering the recent news that's coming out of Iran. So there was a meeting between, I believe, Israel and the U.S., a few days before the recent assassination of an Iranian nuclear scientist. And Iran has accused Israel. Obviously, Israel receives $13 million a day in military funding from the U.S., so that obviously ties back to the U.S., which Iran has put a bounty on Trump's head following the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, their general. Obviously, an enormous escalation between the two countries. These terrorist attacks are another escalation coming at a time when Trump's a lame duck. And then, of course, the worst thing Trump did was pull out of the Iran deal. So the Iran deal forced the U.S. to give Iran back money that they give Iran back their money that we stole from them, and in return, Iran would allow 24/7 surveillance of their nuclear program by the International Atomic Energy Agency. So the International Atomic Energy Agency has been patrolling Iran 24/7 since the nuclear deal was signed, and not once have they accused Iran of creating a nuclear weapon. Iran uses their nuclear program to make energy and power for electricity for their people. And they have uranium, which they use to create medical isotopes. And if you look into it, it's very well documented that they're not making weapons. You can see everything Iran is doing, and it's actually very cool. Iran's a great country with a lot of great academics, really rich intellectual history. And they're continuing that by pushing the edge with creating new medical isotopes, and creating these things using uranium and nuclear power. It's not nuclear weapons. But if you look in U.S. media right now, you would think that the scientist, the professor from Iran who just got assassinated, was cooking up a nuclear warhead, which he was planning to launch into the U.S. at any second. It's like the head of Iran's nuclear terror program has been taken out, and all these articles saying Joe Biden needs to just be a little bit smarter about his foreign policy and realize we need to go to war with Iran. They're saying this isn't the Iran you dealt with Joe Biden. This is a new Iran, a more evil Iran, which obviously is crazy that the media is pushing this. Not crazy, but it's just sad to see how bad the ruling class wants war with this sovereign nation of it, really a beautiful country. Iran is beautiful cities. Like I said, um, great intellectual history. Pushing the edge as far as science and technology, as in the medical field, and we might just destroy their whole country for oil and mineral wealth. So it's really scary times. So yeah, you see the U.S. media pushing these narratives of Iran as a dangerous country, and it's not true. Iran hasn't been a dangerous country. So after Trump pulled out of the Iran deal, Iran committed to still following the deal, right? So the U.S. is no longer going to pay back the money they stole. The U.S. is out of the deal because they claimed it was a bad deal. When you listen to Trump talk about the Iran deal, it made no sense. Okay, you knew he didn't know what he was talking about. John Bolton wanted him to pull out of the deal so we can go further towards war with Iran. And Trump would just say, it was a bad deal. It was a horrible deal. I got out of it. He doesn't know what was in the deal. Okay. The deal was one of the best deals that any U.S. president has signed in the past 100 years. You know, obviously can't stand Obama, but this was the one great thing that Obama probably did during his presidency as far as foreign policy after he overthrew Libya and destroyed Syria. So Iran continues to follow this. But now, after the execution of Soleimani, after the pulling out of the Iran deal, after the repeated assassinations of academics and professors, the far right is growing in Iran. Not even the far right, just a group of people in Iran who are saying, why are we still trusting the U.S.? Why are we still following the Iran deal that the U.S. pulled out of? Why do we continue to try and make peace with this country who's constantly trying to murder our great country? You know, our Islamic Republic that we created in the 1979 revolution when we overthrew the U.S.-backed Shah, who was put in 1953 after overthrowing our democratically elected Mohammad Mossadegh. So, of course, the U.S. has had a long history of intervention, and Iranians are fed up with it. And now this is allowing for a far right to grow in Iran, and a bill is being signed by the conservative portions of the Iranian parliament who want to stop following the Iran deal, who say, let's get these international observers out of our country. The West hates us. They want to kill us. Let's make nukes so we can defend ourselves from the West. And how do you blame them? I mean, if I was Iranian, I don't know what side I would be on. I might be thinking, forget the U.S. Let's make nukes before they come in here and murder my family. So for those of us privileged enough to be living in the U.S. and not in Iran, where we don't, face the threat of devastating all-out warfare from the world's largest superpower, we need to be against this, and we need to be against this right now, because Trump is a lame duck president. He can do whatever he wants, and the neocons are in his ear trying to push him to blow up the beautiful country of Iran. No war with Iran. Stand with the people of Iran. Stand with peace. I don't know. All right, peace.